Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Journey to Becoming a Head Coach. My name, as always, is Jeff Freeman. Today we're going to go over kick return, and I'm going to go over our sideline return and our middle return. So we line up in a basic 5-2-2-2. Primarily that's what we line up, and we adjust our depths based on the kicker from the scouting report. So that's how we pretty much adjust based on that. As far as our basic sideline return, we are not going to block 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're just going to leave them alone. We're going to say they're not going to get to it. We do have some leakage protection if in the case somehow they're making that play. But as far as generically, we're not going to block these last 4 guys. We're going to focus on these 7 coming across. And each guy is responsible for a certain player, or we have some double teams, almost kind of similar to a trap look, because obviously you can't do wedges to a full degree anymore in California and whatnot, and a lot of states as well, and even to some degree at the pro level. You can't really do the full big wedges like you used to do. So now we kind of create wedges based on like depth perception and things like that. But in any case, what our tackle is going to do is he's going to drop, he's going to kind of loop back around, keeping his eyes on the tight end. The tight end's going to drop about 5 to 6 yards, and these guys are 5 yards back. So if they're kicking from the 40, there's the 50. These guys are 5 yards back. They're anywhere around the 55. We might bump them up a little bit, but I put them back because if they're trying to do any kind of creepy onside kick, I want these guys to be able to charge it rather than sitting on the line and getting hit with the ball. This way they can see the 10-yard line, and as that ball is dribbling down, or if there's a pop-up, they can run and attack it rather than having to back up, depending on if it's one of those dribble pops, trying to pop it over their head. Now they're backed up 15 yards and they can take 2 to 3 steps forward and grab it. Or if it's going to dribble and not even make it, they can see it's not going to make it and they're not too close to where it could end up touching them, and they get the ball because the ball happened to touch one of our front line guys. So I back them up anywhere between 2 to 5 yards to give them that error of probability where they can make that adjustment depending on if we're going to get an onside kick or not. So he drops back about 5-ish yards. He has to be ready for any kind of squib or pop, so he has to be ready to do a fair catch. But anyway, he's looping to basically attack number 2. So what this turns into is a double team on number 2. So these two he'll loop, they'll turn, he'll attack, and then he'll attack and join, forcing him setting the edge to the outside. These guys are going to loop, or not loop, but basically drop back at an angle. He's responsible for number 3. He's going to drop back at an angle to force 3 to the inside to kick him down inside. Same thing, the center's going to loop outside of number 4 to kick him down inside. Same thing, he's looping for number 5, and he's looping for number 6, forcing these guys and keeping them inside. Fullbacks, their job is number 1. So when he gets within 2 yards of the fullback, he's going to yell go, and they're going to go to the outside of the tight end tackle double team, and he's going to attack number 1 first. He's going to attack him second, creating a double team, trying to force him again. Basically, if he's trying to stay the outside, then kick him outside. If he's coming inside, wrap him. These two determine who's getting the ball. So if it's kicked over here, obviously he's going to return it. He's going to lead up, following the butts of the blockers. Same thing as an offense. When you're the running back, follow the butt of the guys in front of you. Wherever their butt's pointing, that's where you go. So if they're kicking them out, they're going to turn up the hole. If their butt is facing outside, they're going to loop to the outside. So again, they're going to determine who's going to get the ball. One's going to lead up. Other one's going to follow. This tight end right here is going to do one of 2 things. He's going to essentially follow this fullback, look for any leakage from 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then become another lead blocker coming up looking for anything trying to come across. So basically playing shield for the running backs or the returners. So that's our basic sideline return. Now depending on what kind of kicks, if we call a kick and they kick it here, then all that's going to happen is one of the returners is going to take his place. So if they kick it to this fullback, this returner is going to take the place of the fullback and go team up with this fullback and kick out. I'm sorry, let me repeat that. If he gets to here, if they kick the ball here, this returner will end up double teaming with the fullback, kicking out the number 1. He'll turn into the lead. Same thing if it ends up going to this fullback. Then what will happen is as he comes up, this fullback and this returner will end up kicking out. He'll lead up the hole. Now obviously it'll have to be kind of a little bit of a waiting game, and I'll have to time it just right for him to get through. But it can happen. It can work. I've seen it work. It just takes a little bit of timing depending on that style of kick. So again, they can kick it to anywhere they want to go. Now, if they end up kicking it to this tight end, we want him to fair catch it. Now, depending on what kind of athlete you have here, and depending on this speed of this number 2, you could essentially flip these two, where if he catches it, the fullback just double teams with the tackle, and this returner can kick out the 1, and we can still go. If it ends up getting kicked way over here to this tight end, again, you can still run it. It's just a little bit of a farther return. It'll end up turning into more of kind of like probably an inside return. But again, we want him to fair catch it more than anything if they happen to kick it over here. And we haven't had too many people try to kick over here, but if they do, that's the fair catch. He's going to sit back because we can't really adjust since everyone's kicking them outside. If he tries to take it up, then he's going up against 4 unblocked guys, plus they're kicking everybody to the outside. So if he ends up catching it, what we have done in the past is either he fair catches it, or if he's a fast player and he can get there, what ends up happening is this fullback takes 2 steps up, looks for any leakage, the tight end just follows this returner, these 2 kick out, and he just follows the returner all the way to the opposite side of the field, depending on if we deem he's fast enough to do it and based on what they do. If they like to kick opposite, we can do that. Obviously, we can switch the return to the other side as well. But that's our sideline return. We like to run sideline return, obviously, to our sideline. But if teams catch on to that, obviously we have the ability to go to the other side. So that's our base kickoff return. Again, real simple, real easy. We get away from the wedges. We turn them into double teams by essentially having one player set an edge and another player join and double team them off. And our front line is responsible for just dropping 5 to 8 yards, watching the ball, and then just shielding these individuals to the inside so we can get to the edge. Very simple. And again, if we're able to, our tight ends are fair catch guys, because then these 4 can easily exchange jobs depending on where they kick it. But we want our tight ends to fair catch, unless, of course, we deem we have a player on either side that we can say, nope, go ahead, catch it, and what we'll do is we'll make this adjustment. The fullback will lead with the trap guy, and then you can follow the returner up the hole. So we can make that adjustment if we need to, but primarily our tight ends are going to be fair catch guys. So again, real easy, real simple stuff. Doesn't take too long to teach, and it's fairly simple, fairly easy to install, and you can make very, very simple adjustments if you need to. So again, that's our sideline return. Not trying to get too crazy, and trying to make adjustments with the new rules with no wedges, but also using some principles as far as being able to trap players and double team players without it looking like a wedge. So, and then if we want to do a middle return, we can. We tend to do, again, this is where it gets kind of where it could look to the untrained eye kind of like a wedge, but obviously is not a wedge. So our frontline guys, they're going to be responsible for 3, 4, 7, 8, and 9. So he's going to be responsible for getting 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9. We're not going to block 1 and 10, or 1, 2, or 10. We're going to run right up the gut. So again, he's going to try and drop towards the middle, get 3 to the outside, drop towards the middle, get 4 to the outside, drop towards the middle, get 7 to the outside, get 8 to the outside, and then drop towards the middle and get 9 to the outside. So our front 5 guys are responsible again for 3, 4, 7, 8, and 9. Fullbacks and ends, fullbacks and our tight ends, they're going to form basically kind of what it's not a wedge, but it's basically a what I would call double teams that are kind of standing far away from each other to some degree. So for example, the fullback are going to drop towards the middle. They're going to have about a 2 to 3 yard gap in between them, so that way they're not shoulder to shoulder, it's not a wedge. And then the tight ends are going to drop in front of them on the outside shoulder of them. So again, approximately about 2 yards up, 2 yards up, and 2 yards in between. So then that way, again, they're not shoulder to shoulder, it's not a wedge, but we're forming an area to where nothing can get inside of them. So again, first threat that tries to come inside, and again, same thing here, returners will call who's the returner, who's not. As soon as this returner, he sees the ball caught, let's just say it's get kicked over here, he's going to yell go, and he's going to lead up the hole to first threat. These guys are all going to take off and take first outside threat that happens. So as 5 comes up, he can take him on out. If 6 comes right towards the ball, then our returner can take him, and he's following him up right up the hole. Again, his eyes is going to be on 10. That's where they're going to be primarily. So these ends are going to be looking for 1, 2, and 10, and these fullbacks are going to be looking for 5 and 6. So that's primarily what we're looking for. Our front 5 block those 5, and then we have these 4 to block the other basically 4, and then hopefully our returner is up on the kicker. So that's the goal, is to have our lead returner up on the kicker, but obviously sometimes it doesn't necessarily come to fruition, and also depending on everything else, if these guys are able to get their blocks to the outside. So very simple, very basic return. As far as a middle return, again, making adjustments to the rules, not creating a true wedge, but creating an ability to where we can shield the returner from any outside threat. So inviting these guys up to the outside, forcing them outside, getting on their hip and shoving them out, and then having our ends lead up, looking basically for 1, 2, and 10, making sure they stay to the outside, having our fullbacks primarily looking for 5 and 6, and then our returner looking for the kicker. Now obviously, again, depending on what these guys' lanes are, how fast they are, what their adjustments are, it could end up being where 10 is like us on our kickoff and he's a safety guy and he folds down inside. Then obviously what will end up happening is probably this tight end will take 6 and this fullback will end up taking number 10, because if he's a full player to the middle, then our fullback will end up leaning up on him, returner on the kicker. Because for any of you that watched our kickoff team, you know that our number 10 player gets to the opposite 40 and then folds down. He kind of helps protect the middle. So if that's the case, then essentially our tight end and fullback would exchange responsibilities, and our tight end would end up getting the number 6 who's coming down, and our fullback would lead up on number 10 who's waiting as an extra fill-in player to help with the middle, and our returner goes up on the kicker, while our other tight end and other fullback are looking for 1 and 2 coming off the edge. So again, real simple stuff, nothing too crazy. A sideline return and a middle return. And again, we preface that all off of our scouting report and what they like to do. They like to kick to the edges, then we'll do our sideline return. They like to kick to the middle, then okay, we're going to run our middle return and our sideline return. We're not going to run a middle return if they like to kick towards the edges unless we feel like we have an advantage in the middle. If they have their best tacklers on the outside, then yeah, we're going to go to the middle. Again, everything's based on scouting, everything's based on scheme, and special as far as making sure that we put our players in the best advantage, which you do on offense and defense as well. So again, creating a wedge without creating a wedge. So following the rules, making sure these guys are not super close together so that way they don't mistake it as a wedge, but forming a leverage advantage to where we can go up, keep everything to the outside, and have a lead blocker up the hole. So again, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for all the love and support I've been getting so far. I really do truly appreciate it. Again, feel free to leave a comment below if there's something you want me to go over, or if there's a different formation you want me to look at. Again, we keep our front line the same thing, anywhere between 2 to 5 yards to help with onside kicks or any kind of squib kicks or stuff like that. So again, thank you all for the love and support. Happy holidays. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Have a Happy New Year coming up this Thursday. Be safe, be great, push limits, hold the line.